Am I the jerk for not making a guest room for my family? My wife and I grew up in the same neighborhood and my parents still live there. We lived in that same area for years after we got married, but we bought a small house and moved to a different state, although it is only an hour away, a few years ago. My parents and I are not that close, but they love to see my children, so we would visit maybe every 6 to 8 weeks. We have a room on our second floor that is small and really a study storage room. There is a twin bed and we use it for guests sometimes. The issue is my father has a bad knee and cannot make it up the stairs. Since we moved, my siblings, who my parents have always been closer with, moved out of the country. My parents have been trying to spend more time with us, and my mother has been trying to convince us to turn our den into a guest bedroom for them. I don't want to do this. She has offered to pay for expenses, but it would still be a huge pain. We use the room, and frankly, I don't want my parents staying over all the time, which is clearly their goal. My parents have an incredibly toxic relationship. My father berates my mother all the time for nonsense, such as buying the wrong brand of soap or under-seasoning food. My mother insults him to others behind his back. My mother also makes very unhealthy comments about people's bodies and eating habits constantly. She endlessly shares other people's private information. My father is extremely political and loves shoving his views down others' throats, referring to those who disagree as morons, to put it politely, and often uses hateful language about ethnic groups. This is putting aside deeper, more personal issues that I have with them regarding how I was treated growing up. Overall, I find them unpleasant and unhealthy to be around, and I don't like the idea of my children spending too much time with them. My mother is pushing nonstop, claiming that it's hurting her mentally and physically to not be seeing more of us. She literally blames her mental health issues on the distance from us, and my wife is actually open to the whole idea, more out of pity than anything else. Thus far, I've come up with excuses to push it off to my parents and told my wife I don't want to do it. Am I the asshole? You are not the jerk. Tell your parents that visiting every 6 to 8 weeks works for you and provide them with a list of nearby hotels where they can make reservations, making it clear they need to cover that cost. If they push back or continue to whine, it may be time for a face-to-face discussion about why their visits are not enjoyable for you. They don't get to make any changes to your home, regardless of who is paying, and it sounds like they might be trying to softly move in to help themselves as they age. Am I the jerk for trying to stay away from my parent? My father, who is 46 years old, has a huge drinking problem. He drinks alcohol, especially hard liquor like whiskey, whenever he has the money for it. When he is intoxicated, he gets defensive and is often incredibly rude. Whenever he drinks, I try my best to stay away from him by any means necessary. I usually stay on the main floor with my grandparents and aunt, as he is usually in the basement watching TV and drinking. Whenever he is intoxicated, he inconveniently wants to hang out with me because he wants an ally. None of my family is on his side, and I have made it clear that I am not either, because his recent behavior has been toxic and manipulative. My family has called him out for this nonsense, and he gets defensive or ignores them whenever they do. He recently apologized for his behavior, but I know for a fact that he was doing that so he can get me on his side, and it is not working. He has also said some incredibly rude things such as "you are fucking stupid" and "sometimes I wish you were not my son," thinking for whatever reason that it is acceptable to say things like that. Last night he tried to get me to watch a movie with him. I politely declined his offer, but he then proceeded to threaten me, saying he would force me to go to bed if I did not comply. I told my grandmother about this, and he literally lied to everyone, saying that he said, "You can watch a movie with me, or you can do whatever you would like until it is time for bed." To stabilize the situation, my grandparents and aunt, despite knowing he was lying, said that he probably misspoke and did not mean what he said, and the situation ended there. I was not forced into watching a movie with him. He has been on several benders before, especially during the summer, and they are mentally exhausting. He drinks at everyone else's expense. He uses his mental health as an excuse, but his mental health is not an excuse to do this. He talks to a psychologist, but there are clearly some things he is not telling the psychologist. I have considered the fact that I may be the asshole for ignoring him, including being slightly rude in response as he is still my father, and we love each other. You are not the jerk. Avoiding him is a natural consequence of his behavior, and staying near the rest of your family is the safest place to be. Ignoring him, unfortunately, is the best option for you right now. Hopefully your dad can actually open up and find help with his therapist. Am I the jerk for telling my friend I won't watch their kid until they can wipe their own butt? My friend asked me if I would watch her daughter for a weekend while she went on a trip with her boyfriend. Fast forward, my friend drops her daughter off at my place and everything seems to be going great. I see her daughter all the time because her mother is a close friend, so she wasn't uncomfortable or shy at all and made herself right at home. A few hours go by and she tells me she needs to use the bathroom. I show her the toilet and leave her to do her business. After about 15 minutes, I hear her calling my name, so I go running to the bathroom worried that something had happened. I open the door and ask what's wrong, and she replies, "I need help wiping." This confused me because this is a 7-year-old girl we're talking about, not a toddler or baby still potty training. I ask, "What do you mean? Did something happen?" She says, "No, I just went poop." I tell her, "I'm not going to help you wipe. You're a big girl and should know how to do it on your own." She was not budging and refused to do it herself, saying that her mom wipes for her because she says if she did it herself, she wouldn't get clean enough. Ultimately, I was disgusted. I understand all parents raise their kids differently, and all children are on their own time frame of learning new things. But being 7 years old and still not wiping yourself was just beyond me. After a while of telling her I won't be wiping for her and that she is going to have to sit on the toilet until she decides to do it herself, she starts hysterically crying, telling me she can't do it herself because it's gross, and she won't get clean. At this point, I called her mom and explained the situation, making it clear that I will not be wiping her butt for her. I thought my friend would understand my reasoning and tell her daughter she needs to do it herself this time. I was wrong. My friend and I got into a huge argument over this. She told me how immature I am for not wanting to wipe a little kid's butt and said I was seriously going to ruin her trip over this because she would have to come back home and get her child since I'm making her feel bad about how she does things. I got extremely frustrated over this whole thing and told her she would need to find someone else to pick up her daughter and watch her if this was going to be such a big deal, because there was no way I was wiping her 7-year-old daughter's butt. My friend screamed at me about how insanely immature I am, hung up the phone, and about 40 minutes later, the daughter's grandmother was at my door to pick her up. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to wipe a 7-year-old's butt for them after every bowel movement? Please let me know. I don't have kids of my own and never planned to, but I sure as hell know that when I was 7, I was definitely wiping. You are not responsible for this. This should have been discussed before agreeing to watch the kid. It's one thing to help out while a friend goes to work, but it's another for just hanging out. Kids learn basic hygiene skills pretty early, so expecting someone else to handle it is unreasonable. What if she has an accident at school? The teachers definitely won't be doing that for her. Am I the jerk for refusing to apologize? I am currently in trouble for not telling my stepbrother that I view him as family despite our parents' marriage. My father and his mother got married last year after being on and off for 4 years, yet I have never been close to either of them. I do not handle change well after the passing of my mother, and I felt that everything was very quick, considering the fact they dated for a couple of months before talking about getting married. The son makes me very uncomfortable, but I was told to drop anything negative about it because he is autistic. During the main incident, I was celebrating my 1 year with my boyfriend, and it was just us and my stepbrother in the house. He kept bothering us and then started to make sexual comments at me and asked my boyfriend if he had ever done certain actions to my body. I was revolted and stressed out, but we told him to knock it off, and he backed off for a bit. We had gotten a tiny cake with a hash, 1 candle for photos, and kindly asked him to leave the room and to close my door. He winked at us and said, "If you guys are doing what I think you are, is it weird that I would want to watch?" I was disgusted and so frustrated by him saying this to us, but we carried on with our pictures and opened the door right afterward. I did not tell my father immediately because he and his wife would always dismiss anything he did wrong and say that I was not being open-minded because of his autism. I help with the special needs kids at my school. I have autistic friends, and my boyfriend at the time has a little sister with severe autism. Later on, the stepbrother had gotten a court case against him for saying inappropriate things to other girls and kids in his class. I finally felt like I could share what happened with my father, but he barely acknowledged it and said that I should be used to it because of my experiences with special needs kids and how it was one time. This was not his first time saying this stuff to me, and he does not say it around his parents, so he knows it is wrong. I have not talked to the stepbrother ever since, and he went to complain to my father about how he wanted to have a relationship with me, but I do not want one. My father is upset that I will not tell him I do, but that would be lying. I cannot stand to even be around him or touch anything he touches, but I get told I am being dramatic. Am I the asshole? It's concerning that his actions have made you uncomfortable, and you absolutely have the right to protect yourself from that. Autism might explain some of his behavior, but it doesn't excuse it or free him from the consequences. If someone crosses boundaries, they need to be held accountable, regardless of the reason behind their actions. Escalating the issue to aunts, uncles, or a school counselor could be a good step to ensure your safety and well-being. Am I the jerk for not allowing my addict brother to stay with us after rehab? My brother has been an addict for over a decade. We have never had the closest relationship but keep in touch often. He has a small child and a wife who travels for work. Over the last 10 years, he has moved from state to state collecting dues, spending a couple of nights in jail, and losing his job time and time again. The situation has escalated in the last few years to involving child protective services as he uses while home with his child. Extreme measures have been taken by other family members in the past to help him stay sober that have not been successful. He and his family recently moved to our town from out of state. Their decision to move close to us was not a discussion but a surprise. Within a few months of their move, the police and child protective services have needed to get involved. My husband and I have had to intervene on a few occasions so far, including housing his child, picking him up when the police have found him using, and physically trying to stop him from using, which resulted in an altercation. He eventually had to be removed from his home due to potential child endangerment. He will now be completing a 60-day rehab program. Child Protective Services say he is not allowed to return home once he completes his rehab stay, since he is not allowed to live with his child yet. There is currently no set timeline on this restriction. He is asked to stay at my house when he leaves rehab. I live with my husband and a 10-month-old baby. When he asked me, he said that his sobriety depends on being able to stay with us so that he is not alone and can hopefully see his child. His other options are to stay with family that lives out of state, so he would not be able to see his child. He could find a sober living program nearby, stay at a hotel, likely short-term only due to cost, or stay at a homeless shelter. Another option that has been suggested is for my husband and me to take in my brother's child, so then my brother can live at home. I have concerns that he could relapse while staying with me. If the state does not think it is safe for him to live with his own child, then I do not think it is safe for him to stay with my child. I am also not in a place where I would feel comfortable taking care of his child if it came down to it. Am I the asshole if I do not let him stay with us even though he has taken steps towards sobriety? Am I the asshole for not being able to take care of my brother's child if needed? You acted correctly. Trust is something he needs to earn back, not something that can be given freely in this situation. He needs to take responsibility for his own actions in sobriety. If he can't stay sober without manipulating others, then he's not truly committed to staying sober. His choices have already impacted your life enough. Don't let him guilt you into letting him take over your life and family entirely. Am I the jerk for refusing to attend my siblings' wedding after they secretly dated and got engaged to my ex-fiancé? I was engaged to my ex-fiancé Mike for 2 years. We were together for 5 years in total and were supposed to get married last summer. About 3 months before our wedding, I found out that he had been cheating on me with someone else. It was devastating, and I called off the wedding immediately. Mike moved away shortly after we broke up, and I thought that was the end of it. I was heartbroken, but I slowly started to move on with my life. Last month, I got a call from my younger sister Lily saying she had exciting news and wanted me to come over to our parents' house for dinner to share it. When I arrived, Lily and my parents were all smiles and she dropped the bombshell. She was engaged to Mike. My head was spinning. I felt like I was going to pass out. Lily and Mike had been secretly dating for the past year, and now they were engaged. My parents had known about it for months but decided to keep it from me to protect my feelings. They actually thought I would be happy for them eventually. Lily tried to justify it by saying she and Mike fell in love after our breakup and that their relationship is meant to be. She insisted that they did not start dating until after we were officially over, but I felt betrayed on so many levels. I told them all that I wanted nothing to do with their wedding and stormed out. Since then, my parents and Lily have been bombarding me with calls and texts, calling me selfish and saying I am overreacting. They claim that true love is rare and I should be supportive of Lily's happiness. Now, the wedding is in a few months, and the pressure is on. My parents have even threatened to cut me off financially if I do not attend. Some friends think I should go to keep the peace and show I am over it, while others are appalled and say I have every right to be angry and to stay away. To add insult to injury, Lily recently asked if I would be her maid of honor, claiming she wants to mend our relationship. This request has left me torn. I do not want to ruin our family dynamic further, but I cannot shake the hurt and betrayal I feel. You did the right thing. It's bewildering to see all the adults in this situation accept everything without question and put pressure on you to do the same. Your sister and parents really let you down by hiding the truth and now demanding you respond a certain way, even threatening to cut you off financially. Maybe it's best to remove yourself from the situation, take time to heal, and build as much independence as you can. You don't have to go along with their celebrations, and you deserve better than being coerced into compliance. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.